Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. So bear with me. We actually have music. We have music this time. I just have to get it going. And hopefully it comes through fairly well. So for anyone watching, please let me know. Hey, Polly, thanks very much. Let me know how the balance is on the audio between my microphone and the music. I think the music is probably a little bit loud, so I'm going to pull it down a bit. I'm a little low in the mic. Okay. So I'm going to bring down the music, and let me just quickly fix the mic. I think I know what's wrong there. Ah, perfect. That's exactly what happened. There we go. We'll just drop. Alright folks, I should be coming through a little bit louder now. And there we go. Alright folks. Okay, so we should be now a little bit better when it comes to audio, but I finally wanted to add a bit of background music just to fill in some of the gaps. I know people like some background music on their streams, so I just have to make sure it's not too distracting or too loud on my end. But I think I know how I'm going to fix that. Bear with me. There we go. All right, folks. So a little bit of adjustment needed there. Okay. Well, as I was saying, welcome back to another Firestorm Studios stream. My name is Pat, and we're going to be continuing with our A to Z of sculpting sculpting creatures in ZBrush. I suppose sculpting ZBrush creatures works as well, but either way, it's really nice to have you all here. I hope everyone's having an enjoyable start to their week and a pleasant afternoon so far, no matter where you are, if it's the afternoon, the morning, the evening. So, last week, or actually, yes, it was last week, we made a start on the letter J. So we're doing a Japanese macaque monkey, and also known as a snow monkey. So last week we blocked out a bit of an environment for our character and a base for him to sit on. We've blocked out a rough pose and some rough forms for the creature, and we're going to sculpt this in pose. And then for the head, we created a macaque skull with a couple of eyeballs, and we're going to use this as the basis to build the rest of the head from. And then we're going to use ZBrush Stager to place that head into the correct place. And then once we're happy with it, we'll start bringing it all together into a more polished and final model. We're still not going to be going full detail with this, as in we're not going for a finished, polished model for this. It's just a sketch, just something to kind of to explore different creatures, different forms, and different methodologies inside of ZBrush. So if this is your first time on a Firestorm Studio stream, or it's your first time with one of my streams, that's kind of how we approach things at the moment. We're just doing very quick studies of different creatures based on the alphabet, and we're going to spend generally anywhere between 1 to 3 stream sessions a piece, so somewhere in the region of 2 to 6 hours just blocking out these characters. So we've spent about 2 hours so far on our project, and I am procrastinating a little bit, just trying to kind of figure out what to do next. I haven't done any warm-ups today. I've been busy doing other things, so we'll see how well this goes, folks. We'll see how well it goes. Polly, so far so good for me. How are you? I'm doing okay, thanks, Polly. I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Now, I think what we'll do here is I'm going to hide my environment and I'm going to hide the blockouts. I'm going to put the head in its own folder just to keep things a little bit better organized. There we go. Sorry folks, I just need to adjust the audio on my side. I don't use a monitor or a headphone to check how things are coming through, so I generally just have to adjust the audio manually. Anyway, that's not important. Now, even though we have, if you're new to the Firestorm streams, or again, new to one of my streams, what's this, monkey? Monkey indeed, yes. That's weird, that's not coming through on, is that YouTube? Broadcaster, 24. 2 seconds, folks, I'm just going to refresh the chats here, Stream Elements. There we go. We're not getting all the chat through at the moment. All right, folks. So generally the way this works is we can work away on this subject, on this kind of model, but if you have any kind of queries or questions about what it is we're working on, please feel free to reach out in the chat and just interact in general, okay? Talk amongst yourselves, ask questions, and if there's anything in specifically that you want us to cover or you have a question about in relation to what we're doing, feel free to just again, throw it in the chat, ask away, and we'll see what we can do to answer your question. Right, let's get started with this little guy then. So I've got some reference on my monitor here for blocking out the anatomy. I also have a lot of images of actual macaque monkeys, so this should be fairly straightforward to get started. So the first thing I think I will do is I'm going to append, try to decide how I want to do this. I think I'm going to do insert mesh brush here. So I'm going to hit the B key on my keyboard to bring up my brush menu. Then I'm going to hit I to open up the brushes that begin with the letter I, and then I'm going to pick the IMM primitives brush. In here, under the options, I'm going to pick the polysphere. Make sure I have symmetry turned on. And I'm just going to drag out a shape. I'm going to make sure that I have dynamic symmetry turned on so that when I move these and scale them, they scale the correct way. Sometimes when you don't have dynamics or local symmetry turned on, ZBrush will scale or adjust the model symmetrically, but not in the way that you might be expecting. So I'm going to bring this together like so, just to start building up the masseter muscle for the jaw. And this is going to be quite large. I'm going to use the scale brush and the move brush here, or the scale tool and the move brush to get this into place. Now, the masseter is not just made up of one mass, but generally when I'm sculpting, I will simplify the muscles on the face in order to make my life a little bit easier, because I don't need to put each individual muscle in as a separate object. I can always sculpt in any variation. Okay. And when you're working with an insert mesh brush, generally what will happen is it will apply the new mesh onto your surface and it will mask the surface that you're applying it to. This is quite handy because it allows you to work independently on the new mesh without having to worry about damaging the rest of the model. Okay. What's also great about this is because I have it masked out, if I feel I need a little bit more resolution in that model, I can hit Control D on the keyboard, or I can go into the Geometry tab here and hit Divide. Now, unlike a normal subdivision in ZBrush, where you will see the subdivision slider increase, for this one, it's not going to do that because it's going to be ghosted out, because it's more of a selective subdivision to one area rather than across the whole mesh. All right. Now, I can turn off my wireframe and I can start smoothing that shape out. And the goal here, The goal is to block out most of the musculature and the forms, not just the musculature. We're going to do a little bit of fatty tissue as well. So I'm going to bring that in like so, and I've also got, I need to find some reference. The problem with macaques is that, particularly the snow monkeys, is that they're so fluffy, it's quite hard to see that side of the kind of jaw because it's all covered in fur. So we can interpret from other primate species, and that's something you may have to do a lot whenever you're working on a project or you've been tasked with working on a creature of some kind, and you cannot find exactly the reference you're looking for. Then you will have to adapt and find something that is the closest match you can. Okay, so it's one of the things that I would always kind of suggest is if you do see a project online and it's not 100% accurate, you know, be kind to the artist that's created that, because you never know how difficult it was to find reference for that particular subject. Even more so if it's a very unique creature. Now, as it happens, primates are quite, well, they're a little bit easier because we're primates. So we can use a lot of comparative anatomy. A lot of the anatomy you'll find in humans, as in all of it, you'll find in monkeys and in great apes. Oh, my apologies, folks. I just need to put my phone on silent. I forgot to do that. There we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my insert mesh brush again, grab another polysphere, and we're just going to continue same process, and we're going to continue building up the rest of the muscles for our macaque. And I'm not going to go kind of full detail with this, as in what I mean by that is, again, I'm not going to put in every muscle. I'm just doing it to fill out the major gaps, if you will. Again, I'm going to hit Control D just to give myself a little bit more resolution. You guys won't be able to see this, but I actually do have an anatomy statue of a chimpanzee that I'm using as reference. It's from Yoon's Anatomy, and I would highly recommend that you check that out. Check out Yoon's Anatomy for some anatomy statues. Really great stuff. Very, very helpful. Okay, I'm going to add in another insert mesh brush, and just across the top here. And again, notice I still have my local symmetry on, so I can easily flatten these two sections out. Now again, depending on the species of ape that you are creating, you will have a difference in the way that the muscles sit across the top of the head, so just be aware of that. Again, I'm being quite general about this. That is incredibly epic music. I'm using a free playlist on YouTube. So I just want to kind of clarify that it's not music I've picked. like really epic elevator music. So I'm going to steer away from exact anatomical accuracy here and just start to fill in the back of the head. Just keep subdividing this mesh just to give me enough geometry to stretch this all the way back. And there's a ridge that sits. You can just see it here. Let's jump back to the, let me just quickly jump back to the skull here. If I take my standard brush, you won't see it really that well on this, but there is a bit of a bony ridge that runs along here, okay? And you are going to get some attachment points for muscle here. This is why it can be really helpful to really helpful to create a skull before you actually start sculpting the anatomy. It's an incredibly useful way to learn. Not so FBI, hi, how are you? I'm doing great. Not so FBI, how are you doing today? Welcome back to the streams. Good to have you here. It's my first time on your stream. Thank you, I appreciate it. Very glad to have you here. And if it is your first time, I hope you enjoy it. And ask any questions if you have them. Okay, we're going to start adding a bit of colour in here just to separate this up. And so I'm just going to take the skull and just do a quick fill object on that. And then we'll take the muscles and we'll do a fill object on them as well. Okay, so let's switch this back to white. There we go. And now we're going to have to start blocking out the rest of the face a little bit. So one of the most important bits is going to be these eyes. So we need to start blocking in the anatomy around the eye. And there's a couple of ways that we can do this. What's this? It's been 6 years to me in this industry and never tried my hands. Now I feel like I must start learning it. Well, sculpting is, for me, sculpting and modeling for me is just one of the most enjoyable parts of the industry and what we do. For me, it's been a bit of an extension from kind of drawing and painting, obviously. And then kind of just moving into digital sculpture. I find it one of the most peaceful things to do. Don't get me wrong, I still quite enjoy doing other parts of the pipeline as well, but sculpting will always be my main love. Character is hard for me. Characters are incredibly hard, but the thing is, right, is that I would say that whatever it is you don't do is hard. You know, if you are, so to me, I mean, I still find characters very, very hard to do, but it's easier for me to do a character than it is for me to make a car. I can still make a car, but it's going to be harder for me because I don't make them all the time. The same way as that I can rig, but I don't rig all the time, so it would require me to do a lot of extra training and a lot of extra kind of research to know how to do it properly. So, but I also think that if something is hard, it's good because it means you're learning. It means you're learning something new, and getting out of your comfort zone. And that's important. It's important to kind of pull yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. I enjoy texturing. It was fun helping Miss Heather for texturing her in her last stream. Yeah, that was amazing. I managed to catch quite a lot of that. That was some really amazing substance tips. I was writing them down as well. 100%. I was like, yeah, I need to write these down. These are great tips. Really, really cool. It was such a really nice and kind of wholesome stream. Not So FBI. Fantastic, actually. So it was really great to see. Really great to see. I digressed slightly, folks, and forgot to finish my, how do you deal with, what's this? How do you deal with when things are difficult and you don't feel entirely comfortable? Well, I mean, that's all the time, so no. How do I deal when things are difficult? It's a very good question, actually, Polly. So, my go-to is to research the thing I'm actually creating, because the more I understand it and the more I know it, the more comfortable I'm going to feel about it. So, say for example, let's take the, let me think, what have we made recently on these streams that I've never made before? In fact, most of the creatures we've made on these streams, I've never sculpted before, but I've always sculpted something similar to it. So I'll use an industry example. I won't mention the show or the studio, but I'll mention it. We had to create a lot of, and I'm going to go back to my car example. We had to make a lot of cars for some takeovers, okay? The cars were getting damaged, so we had to replace them digitally, kind of standard affair. And again, I'm not a huge fan of making cars, I think is the best way I can put it. I don't enjoy modeling cars, I don't get any joy out of it, but I'll make them when I need to. But of course, that to me was quite difficult because I was like, wow, I haven't modeled a car in, I don't know, 10 years or 5 years, you know, something like that. So generally what I will do is I will find out about the subject. I will research the vehicle, I will research the prop, I'll research the character. And that makes me more comfortable. Being, having more information on the topic will automatically make you feel more comfortable. And then it means that when you start to create or model that subject, you don't feel like you're going in completely blind. It's why on these streams, the rule is no prep before the model. The only thing I can do is look at reference. I can find reference and I can look at the reference and I can study the reference. That is about it. And what I will also do is I will read up about the creatures, and you can watch, so something like the Japanese macaque. You will gain a lot of information about how the creature operates and functions by watching them move. Still images are great for sculpting, but you want to watch the creature move around. That will give you a lot of information about its locomotion. And personally, I find it incredibly helpful. So I hope that answers your question, Polly. It's a really good question, but that's how I approach things. When it comes to any assets that I'm not comfortable with, research it, become more familiar with it, and it will make you feel a bit more comfortable. Okay. The other thing I will also add to that is that one thing I will do is, if I've never modeled something before, I'll make a really quick rubbish model of it, like a really, really quick one. I'll just block it out completely in kind of primitive shapes. Okay, if it's hard surface, if it's a creature, if it's a character or a prop, I will block it out really quickly and I will just do a quick sketchy model. It's not intended to be used, and I will normally spend maybe an hour to an hour and a half on it. Then I will move on to the real model, because what it means is I've kind of broken the, it's like an icebreaker for the model. I've already made it once. Next time I can make it better. So hopefully that helps. I felt the same. Hey Manic, thanks for coming along. I felt the same when I was working in ArcViz, and then I got used to it in a month or two. Then I got bored because it was repetitive. Yeah. That's the thing, FBI. Yeah, sometimes things can become repetitive, so you get to learn something new. That's why it's so much fun to keep learning new things. All right, I've stalled, so I'm going to continue creating my my geometry for my chimp. Well, not my chimp, my macaque. So again, we're going to use the IMM primitives here. This time we're going to grab our polysphere one more time, and we're going to drag that out and push it into the socket. And you can do this a couple of different ways, depending on how you want to work, but I am going to stretch this out and around in 2 parts. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, grab the move brush. There we go. Oh, I've missed the chat. There we go. What's this? Bear with me, folks. I just need to extend the chat so I can read it a bit. I enjoy looking environment more than characters. Of course, creature interest me, but I'm scared of them. I love the weird creatures in Souls games. Imagine creature topology. Imagine. Brilliant. Okay. I love the weird. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the design of the Souls games is crazy. I mean, I can't play any Souls games. I'm so bad at games that I just can't do them. But their design is stunning. Always fun to kind of take a look at that world. Whoa, what happened there? So, what's this? Ah, okay. And then we're talking Warhammer. I don't know anything about Warhammer. Okay. So I'm going to just focus on blocking out the rest of the musculature here. We're going to do the eyelids separately, okay? What I'm focusing on here is just the outer section, okay? I'm going to add in another. And I will generally work a little bit slower on these streams, just so that we can take a little bit of extra time to understand what it is we're doing. And I also am aware that there's a bit of a delay, so we adapt. It's a bit of a delay, so I want to make sure that people can ask questions if they do have them. And remember, I'm doing a mix of fatty tissue and I'm doing a mix of musculature here. So we're not really making an écorché. I want to make that clear. We're not building up an écorché here. We're just blocking out a mix of fatty tissue, musculature. Let's see, let's do an auto grips on that. There we go. Due to it. Okay, so just going to make a small change to the upper part here. There we go. And hopefully, again, as always, folks, you can start to see how this is benefiting us. It's blocking out the whole creature, and we're understanding the anatomy of the creature as we go. Okay, so it's really important to take your time at these stages. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we're going to bring in the kind of glabella area, so the middle of the brow. And just to be really, really completely off the wall and different, we're going to do a polysphere. this is the thing. There's actually a level of repetition to there can be to sculpting, but if you're just kind of working on your own, you don't need to go through all these steps every single time. And what I mean by that is that generally, I have a bunch of assets and models that I use as starting points. I don't make everything from scratch every single time. It's not efficient to do that. If you have a good base mesh to work from and you do characters a lot, then it makes complete sense to work with that base mesh. Particularly if you're doing, if you're doing freelance work or paid work, you have to, or, again, working in the industry, you have to get these projects and models out fast. Sir, may I see your ArtStation? Yes. Hold on a minute. I don't know my my ArtStation URL off by heart, but I can definitely pop it into the chat. Give me 2 seconds, FBI, and I'll get that in a second for you. There's nothing that exciting on it, I'm not going to lie. There's nothing that exciting on it, but you're more than welcome to check it out. So again, the mask that I'm making here, it's actually 2 separate muscles. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Polly. You absolute hero. Thank you for that. Okay. So we will just going to quickly fill in the actually there's something I need to fix, folks, that I noticed that I broke when I was updating my this is weird. Yeah, when I was updating the my custom workspace, I've swapped these 2 around, my main and secondary color. So I'm going to quickly fix that. So if you've never seen how to fix or change the UI in ZBrush, you're about to find out. That tea is very cold. Okay, so we're going to go to preferences. We're going to go into config and we're going to choose enable customize. You'll see that the UI is going to shift down a little bit, which is normal. And then if I hold down the Control and Alt keys on the keyboard, it's going to allow me to move around parts of my interface and I can add things to it. But what I'm actually here to do is to swap these colors around so they make a bit more sense. So it's more linked with my muscle memory for it. Okay. Perfect. Now that that's done, we can start working a bit faster, I think. So instead of using the insert mesh brush for the next part, we're going to append a sphere. And I'm going to first scale this down roughly to the size of the eye socket. Finally, smooth stream was connected to lower bandwidth Wi-Fi. Ah, okay, good to have you back, Manic. So now that I've got this in place, I'm going to turn on my polyframe here, and I am going to turn off dynamic perspective, and I'm going to slice this like that. Actually, that's not what I wanted to do. I want to slice it, not knife curve it. So I'm going to take the slice curve and just do that. And that's just going to cut that in half. All right. So now I can turn on double, can mask out one of them, split unmasked points. So I now have two halves. And we're just going to do close holes. I'm going to do that on both of them. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to append another sphere. And I'm going to bring that one into the fray. So it's this sphere here. Oh, just going to quickly turn my enable customize back off. There we go. And then there we go. So I'm going to turn off the top half here. I'm going to take this new sphere and we're going to position it somewhere in the middle, like so. Bring it down about halfway. Now, we could have done this in a bit of a smoother way, but that's one of the great things about doing a live stream, folks, is that you get to see the whole, hopefully anyway, you're getting to see the actual thought process. Sometimes thoughts for doing something in a certain way will come to you after the fact. And that's just, that's kind of the game. That's just how it goes. And you go, ah, I should have thought of that. And there's nothing wrong with that either. If you go, oh, that's a better idea, and you go back and change it, then do that, okay? So the reason I've done this is I'm going to turn on this icon here, which if I get my magnifying glass out, it's this one here. All right, along these row of icons along the top of your subtool. And then I'm going to turn on live boolean. And that's going to cut a hole out of my sphere. And because I put it in the middle of the two spheres, like so, each sphere gets the same depth, okay? Cyclops macaque, yeah. But what I'll do with this is now I'm going to select this piece of geometry. And I'm going to go to Boolean and just choose Make Boolean Mesh. Let ZBrush do its thing. And then do it with, that's weird, it's taking quite a while. Oh no, there it is. Grab the second part and do it again. So I'm going to turn that off, turn that one on, Make Boolean Mesh. I know if they've worked because they're going to appear in my subtool list here. So there we go. So now I can delete all the ones I don't need. And if you don't want to delete the model that you're working on, simply put it in a folder. If you're not ready to delete it, just put it in a folder. I'm just going to bring these both in. And now, if I center the pivot on each of them, I say around them, what we're actually going to do is we're going to move the pivot to the middle for each, like so. And now, when I rotate, I've got my stand-in version of my eyelids. But those need to now, we now need to check the size of those based against the real macaque. Okay. So we're going to scale them down. So I'm going to put them together, merge them down. So they're still separate objects. We're just going to bring them down to match. They do have very large eyes, so we do want to make sure that we retain that. Oh, I see what I've done. There we go, that's better. And we'll just do a quick mirror, merge into one subtool. There we go. Then I can take the move brush, and now we can start tweaking the rest of this, just to make it match up. Turn on mask by polygroup so that I can push this lower piece of geometry underneath, and then I can do a bit of an overlap. And remember, your eyes are not perfectly spherical, so it's okay to go in and actually start tweaking this. I think what I'll do here, oops, is I'm going to rotate them. So we're going to rotate this like so. There we go. Maybe pull it forward. Generally what I will do is I generally keep the eyelids just a little bit thicker than you might want, at least at this point, just to kind of help things out a little bit. Just gives you that nice kind of sharpness to it. Okay. Let's go back to our facial anatomy now and start building this out. So we're going to grab the skull again. We're going to go into the move brush here. We're going to select our curve tube snap brush, and we're going to lower the intensity under half. And the reason we're doing that is that as I sculpt it out, you'll see that it becomes a bit flatter. So I want that. I want a bit of a flatter looking mesh. And this is going to come down to here. Let's see. There we go. Oops. I think I've changed that up by Clip Hamper. Hey, Clip Hamper. Thank you very much for coming along. So we're having a bit of probably a little bit more of a chiller stream than usual. But please do ask any questions, folks. I mean, I don't want to keep repeating myself, unless people want me to. I will happily repeat myself until the cows come home. But then you have to ask yourself, where did the cows go? It's a good question to think about. If anybody can tell me the reference there, I referenced that from an animated film. It's a little bit lesser known. I imagine not many people know it. But you guys know I like to do that. So I like to throw these little things out there. Okay, so we're just going to fill object on that. There we go. I already have a question for you. Fire away, Clip Hamper. Fire away. You may fire when ready. Now someone must know the reference to that. One of the world's greatest horror icons that said that. I can't tell you a reference. Okay, I've got two references for you guys. The first one, which is the, until the cows come home, where did the cows go? That is from Open Season, which I highly recommend you check out. And the second one is Peter Cushing from Star Wars. Definitely aging myself with knowing who Peter Cushing is. But to be fair, Peter Cushing was, unfortunately, he passed away before I was even born. But he's a horror icon. So, okay, so we've got our mesh coming down the front of the nose, and we're just going to add in a few more coming across for the lips. But before I do that, I'm going to have to build out the overall lip shape as well. So for that, we will be using an insert mesh brush, and we're going to use a sphere. Open Season is the 3D animated movie. Correct. Open Season. Check it out. I want to make hair with planes, but one hair is kind of very thick. I don't know how to make a plane thicker when it's on a curve modifier. Oh, right. Okay. So, here's the thing. Let me just save this. So I'll show you what I mean. Because one of the probably your best options in that regard is to make a specific thickness for your curve brush and manually make it. So let's switch out of this for the time being, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we take a polysphere, this can be our character's head, right? This is our character's head. Make Polymesh 3D. If I take a curve brush, so let's choose, where is it? Where are we? Curve Flat Snap. Okay. This is designed, what's this? Oh, you're working, oh, I'm working in Blender. Oh, okay. I can't help you with Blender, Clip Hamper. I'm not a Blender artist, I'm afraid. I use Maya and I use ZBrush. Those are my tools of the trade. However, that being said, this will probably still be, this might be software agnostic enough that you can make it work. So, the way I would do it in ZBrush is I would draw out the curve I needed, and then I would go into Dynamic Subdiv, Dynamic, turn off the smooth, and I would increase the thickness. Okay? Now the problem with that is it's going to increase the thickness of the object it's stuck onto, which is a bit annoying, right? Now, that's how I would do it in ZBrush, okay? And the way that this works here is it's a live curve. It's a live curve with geometry. And if you add thickness to that in something like either Maya or Blender, you should still have this curve live. The way it works in Maya is you can actually draw out with you can actually create a standard curve with any kind of thickness. I should probably do some Maya streams at one point. If that's something people would like to see, please be sure to highlight that in the chat. If anyone wants to see some Maya stuff from my side, let me know. And also, this is a perfect time to kind of invite everyone to come along and join the Discord, where you can ask that kind of thing. You can ask for more Maya in your streams. I'm aware it's not something that we use all the time, but it's used when it's needed to be used, okay? So, all right, in that case, we're going to jump back to ZBrush. And hopefully the chat will be able to help where I cannot, because I am not a Blender. I am not a Blender artist, I'm afraid, folks. So we're going to draw out the front of the mouth for the lips, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the eyes. So I need to get my reference for the actual creature itself. They are such cute little creatures. So she can't tell that right now because it has no face yet. Okay. And there's probably better ways to do this kind of shape in ZBrush, but honestly, I just find sculpting it to be the most efficient thing to do. So we'll soften this off a bit. And again, I'm making my life hopefully a bit easier later on, because I'm already kind of figuring out where parts are going to go. And then for this lower part, we'll just hold Control and Shift, click, drag, and then we will rotate it round and move it up into place. I'll do a quick mirror and weld to fix it. And then just smooth that out. There we go. And then this is going to move up into the mouth like this. There we go. Oh no, what happened there? There we go. Turned off symmetry. We'll do auto groups, and there we go. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull in an ear and kind of work on that. So to do that, we've got a couple of options here, but I think what I will do is I'm going to pull in a model and steal the ear from that. I'm just going to save this. Go into my lightbox. Load in my sculpting mesh. And there we go. Okay, so a little bit of disclaimer here, folks. There you may see some nudity because this is a nude model. So I'm just making you aware. So I'm going to take one of these models. I'm going to take this one here. And I'm going to cut the ear out. So if we turn on the wireframe, we don't actually have anything much lower than what we have there. So I always have to check, folks, because the last thing I want to do is offend anyone when it comes to this kind of stuff. Unfortunately though, or the way it goes is that nudity is nothing to be ashamed of. We're going to delete hidden, get rid of one of the ears, and delete that as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my select lasso, and I'm going to find an edge loop all the way around, and then do delete hidden, auto groups, and slowly but surely I can... Hey, Holly! So, thanks for coming along. So what I can now do is I can just go through and delete any extra edge loops I don't want. Because again, this model is a little bit higher res than maybe people were expecting. That's fine, as it is. How am I doing today? I'm doing okay, thanks, Holly. I'm doing okay, thanks. Kind of jumping between great and okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the inside of the ear a bit. So I'm just going to push this in like so. Trying to clear the edge a bit, but I can grab the Z Modeler brush, and this is why it's a good idea to learn Z Modeler if you're using ZBrush. You don't need to know how to do everything with every tool in ZBrush, but as long as you know enough to kind of keep you going, to kind of stop you having to maybe jump into something like Maya or Blender for something small. Like I just need to extrude this back a little bit. So I'm going to take the edge here, go to extrude, edge loop, and just do regular extrude with a perpendicular angle, and I can do that. Okay. Then I can hit close holes, And now I've got an ear on its own, which I can now plop into my scene. So we're going to delete all these. Now we have an ear, go back to our skull, and we'll append it. Now, this is where different scales of model can sometimes become a bit of an issue. So this is our skull down here. You can just see it if I put the magnifying glass on. That there is our skull. This is our ear. So this is because the model that I stole the ear from was made to real world height. It's made to real world scale. So I need to kind of bring that down and scale it down considerably. Actually, I can show you another quick tip here in ZBrush. So if you have a model that is really big, okay, like so. So we've got a bit of a scale mismatch here. One of the things you can do with the scale in ZBrush is, obviously you can try and scale it down specifically, but here's the thing. I know that this ear model was made to real world scale, but maybe I want my model to be in decimeters, which is 1/10 scale. So if I hold down Shift and scale down, ZBrush will snap scale. So I'll be able to scale it down by exactly 1/10 without worrying about any kind of extra decimal points. So it's just a more accurate way to scale things in ZBrush. Right, we need to find a good reference image for the ears for these guys, see how big they are. Oh, there we go, spot on. Perfect. Excellent, okay. So the ears are quite large and they're quite high on the head. So I'm going to go about here. That works for me. I swear you work at light speed, or I have not been keeping up. Last I checked, we were on Godzilla. Right, yes, that was a wee while ago. But however, last week I streamed 3 times for Firestorm. I streamed on the Monday, the Tuesday, and the Thursday. So we got through the letter I and started on the letter J, tiramisu. So that's maybe why you've kind of missed. I mean, generally the idea with these is we don't want to spend loads of time on them. That's not the goal for this. One of my big things for this series is I kind of want to show people that you don't have to have perfect models all the time. You can enjoy sculpting, you can be creative, and you can produce really good work without it being completely finished and highly polished all the time. Because something I've seen over the years is that people tend to get a little bit too bogged down on all the tiny details, and it can stop people from creating. So it's really just to try and give people a bit more confidence back in just creating something that is not perfect. We want our models to be perfectly imperfect. So, which some people might consider a bit cheesy. I don't. I think it's important as artists. Obviously, there always comes a point where you have to kind of go put in the details and stuff, but you don't have to do that all the time. Clearly, you've never been a mortal. No, the reason I kind of do this, folks, or I try and follow this approach, folks, is I used to be like, no, everything must be perfect. I've got to, you know, and it stopped me creating. It stopped me sculpting. Okay. I've not got the best reference of the ear really at the moment. I'll need to look up better reference for the ear, but this will do. It's exactly like I was saying. This will do. That was it. I completely messed that up. There we go. That's what we wanted to do. So the nose and then the mouth. Okay, yeah. We're getting there, folks. We're getting there. Now, one thing I'm going to have to make a bit of a change to here is the chimp, or not the chimp, the macaque that we're doing is actually going to be a young macaque. So we need to adjust the overall face, just the kind of depth of the face, the depth of the muzzle, okay? So to do that, I'm going to go into T-pose mesh. It's going to combine everything I have together, and then I can simply turn on symmetry. If I want, I can mask it and soften the mask back just by holding Control and clicking. And then make sure symmetry's on. And do you know what? We're not even going to use the move brush here. We're going to use the gizmo for this. And just be really, really subtle about it. And if I need to, I can also just scale it, just to flatten that muzzle down a little bit and push it back. That's better. T-pose sub T. I'll be on the lurk mode. Have an awesome stream, sir. Thanks, Manic. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Joke. I'm grateful for that approach. It's very easy to get swept up in perfectionism with current social media trends. Correct. It is. Very true. Social media is kind of the demon for that. So let's just go in and keep the colors as they were. Fill object, there we go. And we'll do the same for these. We'll do fill object. Okay. We'll do a little bit more work on the anatomy. More just to kind of demonstrate it more than anything else, folks. Just for anyone who's curious. So again, we're going to take this face here and we're going to use the curve tube snap brush. Keep that intensity low. That's going to flatten it. Okay, that's going to flatten the brush a bit for us for the type of muscles that we're making. And we're going to bring this down to here. That's too large, so we'll just thin it out. And again, yes, I am using reference, folks. Always using reference. Always using reference. I'm going to pop that in there. And again, we have more individual tendons in there, or individual muscles in there, but I'm just going to do it as a larger shape. Take a bit of the inflate brush, just inflate that up like so. And then we can do the same with this muscle here. And just overlap that, because that's how it should be, okay? And that's the correct approach. Anatomically, what's this? Design with Hack. Hey, Design with Hack, how are you doing? Thank you for coming along. All right, so again, I'm going to take the curve tube snap brush, and we're going to pull this out from here and down onto the chin. Make it a bit smaller. There we go. We're going to have another one that comes along here. So we'll grab these So these ones, there we go. Mask those out, and then we can start to reshape. Like so. We'll take the eyeballs, and actually let's get the skull back. There we go. Grab the eyeballs and the skull, and let's just get a little bit of information in the eyeball, just to give us something to look at. Where is... I did have a... There we go. Okay. So, as I said, we're just going to take the eyes here, and it's probably going to be a bit of an amberish colour for the eye. And just do a fill object on that, grab the paintbrush, get much darker reddish brown, and a soft alpha, symmetry on, and just start to paint in the eye. So we're going to build this up again. I always find this very helpful for myself to just to give myself a bit of an eye line more than anything. It might not help you painting this early. So if it's definitely something that maybe distracts you, or it's just not giving you the look you want, I would bypass it, you know. Oh, we have a question, right? 2 seconds, folks. I will get to your question in a second. There we go. Okay. Let's just flip these round. Okay. I'm going to pop the eyelids in there and the ear in there. So now we have the head. So we're going to do a quick save. And then I'm going to answer this question. Design with hack. Can you make jewelry stuff? Jewelry stuff is not something I generally do in ZBrush very often, if I'm being completely honest. If you're talking about more ornate detailing, I do that for characters, for clothing and things like that. But no, I don't really do specifically jewelry work, unfortunately. I'm trying to remember the name of an artist who does it over on the Maxon stream. Their name is escaping me right now, but I will try and remember it. And if someone has time who's in the chat, if they can check the Maxon channel and maybe find that name, I'd be much appreciated. I mean, I can see if I can find it near the end of the stream for you, design with hack, but no, unfortunately, it's not something I really do a lot of, is kind of any kind of specialized jewelry work in ZBrush. It's quite a niche area to work in, but it is a niche that ZBrush is very, very good at. In fact, it has quite a lot of plugins that were designed specifically around jewelry. So it's definitely something worthwhile kind of getting into if it's something that interests you. Okay, I'm going to bring back all these parts, and I'm going to duplicate, or actually, do you know what? I've saved it. I'm just going to be brave, and I'm going to merge all of this down. So I'm going to hide everything, select the group, and I'm going to do merge visible. Now, what's good about this is when I do merge visible, it will just make a copy of the whole object and pop it into my subtool list, so I can just append that as I see fit. like so. So now I've got a duplicate of it. All right, and the reason that I'm going to do this is I just want to test, before we start sculpting the head in earnest, I want to do a quick test with Stager. In fact, you know what? We don't need to do Stager, we just need to do the head. I'm just going to bring up my reference that I'm using here and see if we can get this to match. Duplicate, I'm going to hide that. Take this and I'm going to duplicate my Z-sphere so that I can customize it. So I'm just going to remove the head. There we go. And then turn the skeleton back on. Or the block out. There we go. Okay, that tells me that needs to be a little bit smaller. About there. We'll just make this ever so slightly smaller as well. Right, do you know what? We're going to use the pink section here to block out very quickly where the fur would go. Going to hide my scene file there because it's getting in the way. So these macaques have this, particularly the baby ones, have this really thick fur. Which I'm currently trying to indicate without making it look too horrific. May need to bring the head down a little bit more to here. I think we need to make the head much smaller. I think it is the length. I think that's where this is just not working for me. It's not... Yeah. Okay. Right, that's good to know. So now we can go back to the original head. And we can use this as the basis for fixing this. So let's hide all that. And again, we're going to go into T-pose mesh here. So we've now got the whole head. And I'm going to start adjusting the shape of it now. With search is natural Resco Gostanza. That does sound familiar. Thank you, Tiramisu. I really appreciate that. So yes, design with hack, that's who you're looking for over on Maxon for kind of jewelry based stuff. Okay, let's get shaping for our creature now. So if the nose is going to be about there, that's the bridge, so we're going to need to flatten this down. Nose is going to sit there, and the lips are going to come in like that. Again, I wish I could showcase the... I do wish I could actually kind of showcase the reference that I'm using here, folks, but unfortunately, I just can't do that. The reference I have here is from Pixabay, so it's royalty free. But you can see here on this guy just how flat the face is, so hopefully this will help a bit. So let's bring this up a bit larger. Yeah, particularly the babies. The babies have a really flat face. So here's the thing. What I'm going to do, and I'm going to save this now. Hopefully this will work. But first of all, before we do this, I'm going to go back to T-pose sub-T and turn off. You can also see the shape overall on the face. We need to adjust that. But here's the great thing. You don't, as long as you get the anatomy in the right place, you can tweak and adjust it to your heart's content before you start sculpting it. That's why it's important to do this, because we don't necessarily have access to a Japanese macaque skull or the anatomy for it. So we use something very similar, and then we adjust to the reference footage that we have, or the reference images that we have. So yeah, so I might even extend this particular letter into 4 sessions, because I'm personally enjoying kind of going through this stage by stage with you. I hope that you guys are enjoying it as well. So yeah, so please do just let us know if that is the case or not. How are we doing for time? Right, we're almost in an hour and a half, folks. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save the file, and then I'm going to go into I'm enjoying learning. Brilliant, thanks Polly. That's good to know. Now, I don't know how many people know about this in ZBrush. I'm going to scale down my spotlight here, because what I'm going to do is I need to do a paint over, but I don't want to go to Photoshop. So I'm going to go to Document and go to Paint Stop. And what ZBrush is going to do, is it's going to open up a drawing package inside of ZBrush that we can do a quick paint over on if we wanted to, right? So you can see that I can start kind of scribbling with my pencil, okay? And all this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to swap my color, and there we go, okay? And I can change my draw size, all this kind of stuff, all right? So, and it's just basically going to take a screenshot of your canvas and put it into paint stop, all right? And now I can use my reference images that I've got, and I can kind of draw out roughly where I think things need to go from a fur perspective. So just going to increase the draw size a bit here. Maybe the wrong color, right? Let's see if we can do something a bit. But I want it to be kind of obvious what we're doing, so. There we go. Okay, we'll use this color. Right, so I want my fur coming out here, and the fur comes off the side. Now there is going to be a bit of transparency, but that's all right, that's fine. Now you can do this in Photoshop, but this is just to show you don't need to do it in Photoshop. You can do it in ZBrush. And there's layers and all kind of stuff. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's quite helpful if you just want to knock out a couple of paint overs to help you with what it is you're doing. So let's just take I'll just take a pencil here. Oops, wrong one. There we go. That's the one I wanted. Okay. So, also it's telling me that I need to round out the eyes a bit more almond shaped. And also looks as though the distance between where the nose is going to end up is wrong. Let me just undo that. So the cavity for the nose is going to be about here, which means the bridge is going to be about there, which means the nostrils are going to come down about here. And then it gives me almost, yeah, I'm not doing too bad. I know this doesn't look, I'm not a great artist, folks. This is just literally me showing you ways that you can work inside a ZBrush to kind of figure something out. So I now know that I'm kind of in the right place, okay? And you could do it in 3D as well. There's nothing stopping you from just going, right, let's block out the fur in 3D as well, right? But sometimes, and I recommend it, it's a good idea to just sketch it out, okay? Sketch out the direction and see how we go. Okay, now I'm just going to go exit, and here's the cool thing. I can say to it, do paint stop projection, double-sided fade, pick up now. Okay? No. Now, what that will sometimes do, or what you can use paint stop for, is you can actually sketch and paint on it, and then project that onto your model if you wanted. Okay? Like that. You can see that it's actually projected what I did onto it, which I don't need, but it's quite cool that it's there. So we're going to take that color and just do another fill object. There we go. Now I know where it is I need to go from here. So I'm going to hit save as, save again, and I'm going to go and start adding. I did have a skeleton somewhere for one of these, but I seem to have lost it. So instead, I will just haphazardly guess. No. I'll use my reference for this. Where is the... I've got this... There we go. Soaked version of it. That'll do. And I'm going to clean that up. I'm going to append... Actually, how do I want to do this? Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create a curved tube. And bear with me, I'm going to get an actual skeleton for this creature. Because I did have one and it's gone walkabouts. It got up and left. Okay, that's what we want. It's a rhesus macaque, but macaque, but it'll do. It'll do. Perfect. So, okay, yeah, I was right. I was right and wrong at the same time. So it needs to come from here. Again, that's just to give me something to work with. And I'm going to add in with my insert mesh brush. I think we'll go with a capsule and turn on symmetry and do something like that. Auto groups. There we go. Iron Warrior Chaos, thank you very much for the follow. Much appreciated. We appreciate all of it here at Firestorm Studios. And while I'm on the topic of Firestorm Studios, seeing as this is a Firestorm Studio stream, I want to invite you all to please check out the social links in the base, in the kind of banner of our stream. Please do feel free to go ahead and follow us, check us out, and also join the community over on the Firestorm Discord. You will not be disappointed. It's a really great community of people. Very much worth your time. If you want to learn more about what it is you do, if you want to share your work, if you want to ask for help, and if you want to ask for a lot of help, you can also seek out a mentor. Okay, so what's this? Julio. Guy that looks like Punch, not sure if there's a goal here, just got in. Hey Julio, thank you. We're not going for Punch specifically, but it is the same type of, he is the same type of monkey. So, yeah. Oh, Mikhail, thank you very much for the follow. And then for this part in the middle, I'm just going to add in one more primitive. Another capsule right in the middle. And then scale that up. Now, and actually, you know what? We'll add in one more. We'll add in one more to just complete the part in the middle. There we go. But thank you very much for the follow, people. This is really, we really appreciate it. And I'm aware it's not been, how lovely. Thank you, Julio, really appreciate it. Thank you. This hasn't been the most energetic of streams, so I hope everyone's okay with that. I'm now going to just take my Z modeler and just insert some edge loops. But yes, please do come along to the Discord. Let us know what you think. Find out if you need a mentor or if you wish to have a mentor, and see how you go. Now, we are doing the full character here. So, and we are sculpting in pose, but that doesn't mean that we can't build up a full neck. Okay, a full neck is going to help us when we pose him, when we use the stager to get him in place. Okay, and it's also just going to help me from an anatomical point of view to figure out, have I got the head right? And at the moment, I don't think I have. I'm not going to lie, I don't think I've got it. It's not right at the moment. So I'm probably going to use, I'm going to find more reference to more accurately get the head right before we start really getting into the meat and potatoes of posing. Hey CC, thank you very much for coming along. So I'm going to take this, I'm actually going to group these because they're, so we'll just call this pose, and we'll just get these skeletons in here. Got that stand-in head, which I'm actually going to delete. Don't think I need it anymore. Hard to tell with all that fuzz. Yes, it is. It can be quite tricky. But generally I'll try and go off the, I will attempt to go off the skeleton as best I can, and just generally looking at how they sit. There's a lot going on around here, but I do think we need to, really think we need to flatten this face down even more. Yeah, I think we do. Oops. See, this is what happens when I wasn't looking. I was too busy looking at my reference here. Let me see what we got. What's that? There we go. All right, let's take a look at the rest of it. But yeah, how are you doing, CC? Thank you very much for coming along. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, there we go. That's part of the problem. So you know what? It actually looks better like that to me than it does. It's the lips. That's where I've went. That's where I've went wrong. These lips, this muzzle, totally wrong. So I'm going to completely reshape these. Bring them, make them much thinner. Need to bring this one back. Doing good. Oh, excellent. Fighting Marvelous again, but I think I'm winning. Well, I mean, Marvelous Designer will do that to you. You know, it's a great tool, but it can be quite a challenging beast to slay. Okay. You know what we're going to do? I'm going to open up this, and I'm actually just going to hide those. And we're going to smooth back the teeth. And that's just going to make my life a bit easier when I start trying to tweak the lower jaw. And again, folks, there's nothing stopping you from just going into a sphere and sculpting, right? You can, you know, and if it's, to be honest, it's probably what I would end up doing. If I was doing this for a job, I would start sculpting straight away on a sphere or a block out. I might even start using a human base mesh, to be quite honest, depending on how fast I had to work. Okay, let's now, before we finish up, well, we're not too bad, we're an hour and 40 minutes, but we've lost a lot of viewers today. So, we're going to add in to the skull another insert mesh brush, like so, another sphere, grab the move brush, and we'll jump into our reference and we'll start tweaking the nose. Get that nose into the right shape. Flatten it out. And with symmetry, I'm going to pull this part down here, and we've got the nostrils coming off like that. And that comes down to about here. And then from the side, I can see it's going to be about here. So notice where the cavity for the nose is and where the nostrils are, okay? Do not just place the nose right above the cavity for the nostril, for the nose. It will be wrong, okay? It will be wrong. Yeah, I'm looking at this side profile. Our character's really protruding out way too much. So bring that into about there. And we need the nostrils to be about here. But we need an extra part here. We need some more shape on the nose. So we will do our insert mesh brush again. We'll do a capsule at the side. Just to fill that shape in. And I was talking about this with a friend of mine yesterday about how you actually create the shape. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. How you create the shape doesn't matter. What is important is that the final model is fit for purpose for what you've been asked to create. So if it's for games, it should be real-time ready, it should be well optimized. Its UVs may be set up into, you know, PBR, or, you know, a couple, or maybe even one texture sheet if it's really low res. I mean, when I started in the industry, I was taught, even though we were working in television, but we were using games industry techniques of the time to get everything out the door, because it was optimized, it was fast to work with, and it looked really good. And it made sure that the rigs for the animators were light enough that they could work with them, obviously real time, in the Maya viewport. And I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, I think, yeah, all of our main characters, it was all one texture sheet. Everything was one texture sheet. No normal maps, just bump, spec, and diffuse is what we called it, which would be a color map or an albedo. Wow, this music's really this is really epic background music. That was not my intention. Okay. Now it's starting to look a bit more like a macaque. But it's still too wide. It's got more of a baboon kind of gibbon look to it at the moment because the muzzle is just too wide. So the thing is though, depending on, because you've got a rhesus macaque, which actually has a more pronounced muzzle. So I need to flatten it for this one. So again, back into T-pose mesh. We're going to mask out from here. There we go. Just kind of on that plane of the face, right? If I use my transpose line here, it's here, right? And this is a good example. You should check this out. You know, it's a good idea to check your kind of planes of the face like this. Okay, so let's undo that and let's just move this now back to where it needs to be. It's going to be pretty far, so we're going to make quite a violent motion here. No one wins with Marvelous Designer. That sounds like a Fallout thing, you know. It's like war never changes, you know. Nobody wins with Marvelous Designer, you know. So let's get this into place. That's looking better already. That was a great movie voice. Gonna get you to do all our voiceovers. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. It's like my go-to movie voice. This summer, join the Firestorm Discord. There you go, Heather. Okay. Should we do an in a world? Should we say in a world? Should we do it? Should we do it, folks? All right. In a world. It's all. I just do it because I'm just daft. I'm just silly all the time. It's not something. It's just something I play around with for fun. I feel like a lot of dudes spend time practicing that. Maybe they do. Wayne does it too. Yeah, I think it might just, maybe it's just a guy thing. You know, it's just, as I said, it's just kind of my go-to kind of like silly voice, or one of my silly voices. So, all right. Now, what I'm actually doing here is I'm doing something you kind of shouldn't do. Is that I'm making fine adjustments. When I'm in the T-pose mesh. I wouldn't recommend it, folks, okay? Be very, very wary when you're doing anything. I certainly wouldn't sculpt or use a sculpt brush in here. Using the move brush is going to be okay, but I mean, I'm sure it would be fine. It's just that in the past, when I've been teaching students, particularly when using ZBrush for the first time and using T-pose mesh, that system, it can throw people off. It's why I was so insistent when I was talking about making sure that when you save, if you're using T-pose mesh, make sure you save the correct way. And ideally, before you save your file, come out of the T-pose mesh feature, all right? But I'm happier with how that's looking as a macaque. The eyes might be the wrong scale, but we're going to fix that in a second. We're going to come out of this. He does the little tortilla standover thing, voiceover thing. That's cool. Okay, Right, let's see how close we can get here, folks, eh? Let's see how close we're going to get. So, dynamic perspective on. And I can pretty much tell immediately that I'm off by a fair amount. So I'll use the nose as my point for scaling. So I'm going to tap on the end of the nose, and that's going to be my point of scale. So first thing I'll do is I'll get that. I'm going to ignore everything else, and then I'm going to start rotating around that point. Oh, I've missed stuff. I miss Heather. She yapped with the best of them, forgetting to do art. What even is art? I practice the art of yapping. Okay. So yeah, we're off by a fair amount. We need to bring the skull in. This was something I was looking at, and I was starting to get. I was a bit concerned about this. Our eyes are too far apart, so we're going to get rid of that. We're going to go. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get rid of his ears as well. I'm going to make a bit of a. I'm going to hide the ears and just do the skull. Okay, so I'm going to bring up another reference image here. And let's see. Let's go with this guy. Okay. Right, little guy, you are going to be our reference moving forward. You're going to be the measurement reference. So we're going to go back into T-pose mesh. There we go. Okay. And if I have to redo the eyes, I will. What I'm now more interested in is getting the proportions correct. This is why I kind of really enjoy doing these kind of sculpts, is that it's such a challenge to get it right. If something's easy, it's kind of boring to do. So yeah, that's looking a bit better. So I'm going to mask out the mouth area. Is this the most challenging one of the series? Yes, actually. I think it is. I think this has probably been the most challenging one. Simply from the fact that they're finding the right reference for these creatures is quite difficult. Because there's lots of different types of macaque, and what's making it more challenging is the fact that obviously we're trying to teach, we're trying to kind of entertain and teach at the same time, obviously, but we want to make sure that you know, like I said, I mean, I would normally just go in with a sphere and start sculpting, or start from a base mesh, and I would immediately start referencing one particular creature. This time, we're not doing that. We're trying to make up a full image, but we're also trying to kind of cover the anatomy. We're trying to cover a different way of doing things. Already, just by starting to move things around, I can feel it starting to be more in the realm of what I'm looking for. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring in this little guy here again. What I might do actually between streams is I may cut out just this guy's head. Need to find a wet monkey so you don't have all that fur. I have found one. I'm going to bring him in. I will show him briefly. I will show him really briefly because he's a great reference. Let's see if we can bring him in. A to Z. Japanese macaque reference. Where's the wet monkey? Oh no. I think Zebra's just crashed. Oh no, there we go. There we go. Behold. The wet little Japanese macaque. The other thing you have to... I know, right? It's pretty creepy. The other thing you have to be aware of as well is that every piece of reference you find is probably a different monkey. So they're going to have variations in the same way that humans do. We've got, you know, everyone has different sized ears, different sized lips, different sized mouth, the distance between our eyes and our nose and stuff. It's, you know, Gollum sends his regards. You know, these are all things that we have to kind of be aware of and take into account. So I'm going to bring this really large up onto the screen. And we are going to change the opacity. And we're just going to see what we can do. Do you think that sculpting an ape monkey is harder because humans have better feature recognition? Oh, 100%. 100%. You know, they might, it's so weird. You'll sometimes catch the eye of like a chimp or any kind of ape or monkey. It's harder with apes because they are so like us. If you look at some chimpanzees, and the way that when you catch their eyes, particularly those that have the white sclera, you can see the family link, shall we say. The other thing as well is sometimes some projects you just don't hit. Sometimes you nail a project, sometimes you don't. Right, this is looking okay nose-wise, but not so much head-wise. Right, let's see. Here's the other thing, because I need to... Let's see here. What's this? Creepy. I had such an off day for sculpting last week. Always fun when you're a live stream and nothing goes right. Exactly. I had that on my personal stream, I think last week on Wednesday. Everything went, it didn't go wrong. It didn't go right. Everything went wrong. So. Okay. Right. Okay, finally getting somewhere. Making monsters is fun though. I like doing little monsters. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've come across all this great reference, all these great kind of concepts I'd love to sculpt on the stream one day. But we have to finish I've got to finish the A to Z first. I've got to get through it. And after this we have a Kelpie, so we're going to be going into the kind of more monster realm briefly. So how are we doing? Okay, we've actually hit the 2-hour mark, folks. So I think what we will do is we'll come out of T-pose sub T here. Oh no, that's not good. You remember how I was saying that you shouldn't tweak and adjust your your model when it's in T-pose mesh mode? This is why. Because sometimes ZBrush will get a little bit confused about the point order. And that's what's happened here. And there is ways to fix this, but it's not worth it. It's not worth the time. Now, one of the benefits we have is the fact that, there we go, see. So something has broken quite considerably when I've been doing that. Now what I can do is I can step back and I can fix it by going back the way, like so. Hey, Subfusion. So we can go back to there. But what I'll probably do, folks, is I will fix this in between streams. I'm not going to fix this. There we go. So chances are, I think I just saw Pat. So I think I know what's happened here. Just to explain, so if this ever happens to you, right, you can see that all of it's broken, right? So I'm just going to move forward and show people what happened if anyone missed it, right? So when I came out of T-pose sub T mode, this happened. Can you say again? Okay, so the reason that this has probably broken like this is a couple of reasons. The first thing is I hid, if you remember, I hid the ears in this group, right? Then I went into T-pose sub T mode and I started moving and adjusting things and I hit mirror and weld. If anyone remembers, I hit mirror and weld when I was sculpting or moving things around. That's what's broken this part here because it's changed the point order. So this system works in a similar way to a blend shape does. If you have a blend shape in Maya or Blender or any other 3D software, if the point order gets mixed up, then the 3D software can't figure out where the next point has to go to or where a vertex has to move to in 3D space. So it gets freaked out and this kind of stuff happens. So that's why I was saying you don't want to make any major changes to your model when you're in T-pose mesh mode. I forgot I was in that mode. I hit mirror and weld because of muscle memory and it broke my point order. So when I brought it back into T-pose sub T mode, once, lo and behold, it's messed up that side. You notice it's only broken one side of the model. That's the model that was mirrored over, okay? Because the point order for that is now wrong. But it's fine. I will fix it. Oof. R.I.P. Everyone just... I love the chat for this when something goes so badly wrong. So what we'll do is, before we finish, I'm going to load up the ibex from last week because I know Tiramisu didn't see it. So we might as well end on a high point, right? So let's put the ibex up. We'll do a Shift S to snap it. We'll load the tool. Let's put in the hippo as well. What's this? I was just about to T-pose and pose my character. I've been avoiding doing it because this happens. It has somehow become a tomorrow issue. No major change T-pose. Got it. Got to write this down. Thanks for the explanation. No problem. Can you show the basic render settings you use here? For this, as in to render it, this is just the viewport. This is just viewport. But there is a bit of, there was originally some preview occlusion on it. And if you're ever doing occlusion in ZBrush, when you turn it on, lower the main radius if you've got fur. Okay? It'll tidy it up a bit, and then you can lower the intensity as well, but make sure your main radius is a bit lower and it'll make it look a little bit nicer. Okay? Now, you can also, obviously there's a material change on this as well, but this is just the basic material in ZBrush, and I can actually put on my PIM skin, which is my custom shader that I use, which could be a little bit darker. There we go. That just makes things look a little bit nicer. And then, yeah, so basically, yeah, there was no, this is all just basic, standard stuff in ZBrush. I've not really done anything to this. This was just the kind of paint and the material. Now, the original material that was on it was actually, if I go to projects, I will show you. If I go into my materials here and go into FP, it says Fabio's. It's FP Sculpting 9. And when I apply that, it gives us a little bit more cavity to it. So, thanks, Heather. Thank you. It gives it a little bit more cavity to it and just kind of pops it up. So if I open up, let's say if we open up another model here, let's go to Hippo. The Hippo is one of my favorites. I'm not going to lie. The Hippo has definitely been one of my favorites I've done in a long time. So if we go to, where's my PIM shade? Oh no, I've lost my PIM shader. Oh no. Oh no. So we'll just have to do that. Like so. The Hippo came out perfectly. Thanks. Thank you. Hey, I'm confused about the proper workflow for creating a game-ready character. Whoa. From character for ZBrush to a game engine. I also struggle with making the mouth and face correctly for animation. Any guidance would really help. Okay. So that's quite a lot to digest in a simple answer. So workflow for game-ready characters is generally about high-res sculpt. You want to make sure your sculpt is as detailed as possible for the style that you're creating, okay? Then you're going to have to go through a process of retopology. And I was just about to mention, as the Firestorms popped up, is mentorships, because the amount of kind of steps you need to take for what you're asking is a lot. You'd need to go through it stage by stage. But essentially it's high-res character, retopology, baking, and then taking it into a real-time engine of some kind. Unreal, Marmoset, that Unity, okay? Now the face and the mouth correctly for animation, that's going to come along with the retopology stage. And again, all of this needs to be kind of broken down and approached in a more step-by-step manner. It's not something we can just immediately cover in a couple of answers, I'm afraid, on the stream. We're also going to be finishing up quite soon as well, Priyan, my apologies. But yes, I would suggest looking for a mentor for that type of thing. If you're really struggling with it, then it sounds as though you might need some more assistance, as in from a mentorship. Exactly, there we go. We have a full character breakdown as well on previous streams. All right, folks. Well, let's just bring back our poor macaque monkey, who is just he's just not having a good day of it, really. But Okay. Like I said, we're going to fix the head. I will fix the head in between streams because that's a bit of work. So that when we come back to Panoso Serial, welcome to the chat. I think I missed someone. Panoso Serial, yes, welcome. Welcome. I will fix the head in between streams, and hopefully when we come back next week, we can actually start looking at sculpting in the form of the macaque, and then starting getting that head connected to our really rough version of the body, and then we can start bringing it all together. What we'll probably do is we'll sculpt the head, and then we'll sculpt the body separately, and then we'll bring them together and then just blend it. We could also maybe hide a lot of the with fur. Hide the crimes, as they say. The monkey's pose is so cute. Yeah, thank you. I found this great reference image of this little guy just kind of poking his finger into the water, and I thought, I think that's what I need to do. I think that needs to be the image that we make. Because again, we're probably not gonna like completely finish this one, folks. But we'll get it to a decent enough state that we can always return to it and refine it further. It would make a lovely 3D print, maybe, who knows. All right, folks, so we're going to finish up there. I have other things that I have to attend to this afternoon, so I'm going to finish up, but I'm just going to leave you with a little reminder to please check out the socials for Firestorm Studios. You will find them all. You will find them in the banner below in the stream. And please make sure to check out the Firestorm Discord as well. You will find a really amazing community over there where you can ask for help, assistance, just meet new people that have the same interest as you, and you can also inquire about mentorships and that kind of thing, and just keeping up to date with what we're doing over at Firestorm. Okay, folks. Well, with that in mind, I'll leave you all to the rest of your afternoon and visit Pat on his own channel as well. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. Yes, I also do stream on Twitch or at BR3D on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock UTC. So please drop in if you get a chance. But until then, folks, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, your evening, or your morning, and I will see you all again next week. And until then, I hope something good happens to you. Bye for now.